What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Pick Six podcast. Today, we're looking at the final week of the regular season. I can't believe we made it, week 18. I'm Katie Mox, back from my sabbatical. I feel like I've missed the last couple weeks. Joined, of course, by Will Brinson and Sportsline's finest, RJ White and Alex Selelnick, aka Propstarz. This episode of Pick Six is presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. If you like winning picks, make sure you sign up at sportsline.com and use the code PICK to get your first month for just $1. RJ, my picks are up before the show, so I know that you are not exactly proud of me, but I did my job. The last episode in the feed are yours up, Brinson?
Oh yeah. I've gotten it built into a process. When I put my picks into my story, I don't have all. I may need a copy of it, but I just take whatever the blurb is for the story, which, by the way, you can read on CBSSports.com. I also issue an apology to Browns fans and sort of talk about the randomness of the full season. Very brief breakdown of it, but essentially it's like Browns fans are like, "You loser! You said we go 7-10. You pathetic idiot!" I'm like, "Yes, I was wrong. But if I told you that Deshaun Watson played, no, but if I was like Deshaun Watson plays poorly, gets hurt, and you have to start PJ Walker, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, both for multiple games, and then drag Joe Flacco off of the street and start a fifth quarterback in week 18. Are you telling me that you went 12-5? Probably not. You're like, dude, 7-10 sounds great. So and interestingly enough,
if you're a Browns fan listening and you'd like an apology, make sure you read his article on CBSSports.com.
Yes, exactly. Anyway.
Well, the last episode of the feed was really interesting as well because you had Ryan Wilson, BMAC, Bryant McFadden, and Lee J. Douzable debating the merits of resting your starters and untangling the playoff picture. Check that out on our YouTube channel or anywhere that you get your podcasts. I had food poisoning last week, so I wasn't here, but week 17 was not great for the rest of the squad. Brinson and RJ 2-4, Propstarz 0-4.
Food poisoning puts you in first place.
I had proverbial food poisoning as far as my picks were concerned here, Katie. Rough week. I've got a terrible taste in my mouth. Not going to force things as we have the playoffs upcoming here. I am determined to finish over 500. Won't be happening in the regular season as I only have 2 picks, but I'm definitely going to get on a heater come the NFL playoffs.
Do you discuss if we're going to do a separate? Are we just going to keep it going for the playoffs, or are we going to do a separate? We can discuss this offline. But sometimes we've done a game for the playoffs where it's like you have $1,000 fake dollars to do over the course of the playoffs. Whoever has the most, and you can do like parlays. You can do, you can do props. You can do,
Let's talk about that offline. Real quick though, RJ, any takeaways from week 17?
Yeah, tough one. It's always tough when you get to this part of the season to see who's going to show up and play hard. Obviously, Arizona was the team that came out and played hard against the Eagles with their coach going up against his former team. But other teams are kind of checked out at this point. So we'll see who shows up in week 18 and who has started their offseason already.
Yeah, this week is going to be tough. And I will say for Propstarz, there's not a whole lot of props guys out there. This is 2 p.m. On Thursday, but there is Propstarz, a lot of incentives for a lot of these players. So hoping you can give us a little bit more insight on who we should be looking at. But let's go ahead and start with the early slate of games. The Steelers are laying 4 at the Baltimore Ravens. This total 35.5. Obviously the Steelers are favored here because Baltimore's already locked in the number 1 seed and they're likely resting a lot of guys. RJ, that doesn't seem to bother you at all. You're still taking the points.
Yeah, because if Baltimore's playing this game at full strength, I would have them as double-digit favorites. I don't think Pittsburgh is even an average team at this point based on what we've seen, even though Mason Rudolph has been playing well in that offense. And you can only rest so many people. And on defense, Baltimore has a lot of depth. I expect them to have a good game. The cornerbacks that will be featured in this game are the same ones from last week that pretty much shut down this Dolphins attack with Tyreek Hill, and they're not going to face anything nearly that dangerous here. Even with that Pittsburgh offense coming off another good Rudolph game in a tough spot, their defense allowed 7.5 yards per play. I think Tyler Huntley can come in and have success. He's been solid as a fill-in starter in the past, not scoring a ton of points, but executing the offense. So I think it could be a tight game. Keep it to a field goal game like last year against Pittsburgh in the same spot when Huntley started. Could see some ugly weather as well, limiting the pass offense, keeping the clock running, having a low-scoring game. So I just think this line should not be north of 3. I actually probably would make Baltimore favored even with their backups in because they're so strong and they have a lot of depth, especially on the defensive side. And I think they can win a close, low-scoring game here. So at +4, just love it as a best bet.
Yeah, I would tend to lean towards the Ravens as well. You're catching the points. It's in Baltimore. John Harbaugh's not playing his starters, but as we sort of alluded to earlier in the week, this is not a college roster. You can't just sit everybody. You've got NFL caliber players going out there every game because they're on NFL rosters. And even if they're backups, about a Pittsburgh Steelers defense that's been devastated by injury and an offense that, like, shout out Chris Trapasso, Traps, friend of the pod, of course, our colleague who wrote, like I saw a headline on CBSSports.com. It's like, behind Mason Rudolph's magical resurgence with a Steeler. And like I was like, I clicked. I was like, I know who the author is. It was Traps. But like the other thing I wouldn't discount here, and this applies across the board for these games in Week 18, when you talk about motivation, the Ravens don't want the Steelers to make the playoffs. The Ravens would love nothing more than to knock the Steelers out of the playoffs. Baltimore and Pittsburgh hate each other with a passion. Now, I almost think there'd be more motivation if this was the Steelers were 8-8 and you could give Tomlin his first losing season of his career. But just as much, I think Baltimore will be motivated to play well. I think John Harbaugh will have them execute. I think Tyler Huntley is we've seen him in spots in the last few years. He's one of the better backups in the league, and he runs a similar, I think that this is a good spot for Baltimore as well.
2 points I would make just to kind of piggyback on what Brinson and RJ said regarding Baltimore here. They're going to obviously have to play some starters here, plus the strength of their football team outside of obviously having the MVP. More on that in a second. Is they've had tremendous depth all year long. So I think Baltimore's depth is better than a lot of teams here, and we'll see that in this game. I do want to also take a bit of a victory lap here, as we've been beating the Lamar for MVP drum since earlier than midseason. I would say the first quarter of the season, I thought he was a very viable, realistic value, and has turned out to be the now favorite to win MVP, and has had a tremendous year. So hopefully some listeners with some Lamar MVP tickets.
Yep. We were touting him.
Yeah.
I mean, for months. Minus 20,000 on DraftKings. I saw. So yeah. All right, moving along to the next game. The Texans at the Colts. A massive. And man, this is set up so well because you get the Steelers in terms of like Saturday is going to set the stage for Sunday. And as far as what we get and what we there's certain things that can happen where Buffalo suddenly could be playing for their playoff lives, et cetera, et cetera. But more importantly, Texans at the Colts. Only one of these teams can get in. And Alex, you'd like a prop in this one, actually.
I don't like a prop. I love a prop. For me to have a prop, especially at this stage of the week, Brinson, I have to be all in, and I am all in on Nico Collins. This one checks all the boxes for me. Bet him last week, going right back to the well here, even though he's 10 yards higher, but just love this spot, over 73.5 receiving yards. The Colts play more cover 3 defense than any defense in the NFL. Nico Collins has absolutely shredded cover 3 defense this year, 3.54 yards per route run. That leads the league. Looked phenomenal last week with a healthy CJ Stroud on his way to a very big game, functioning as the number 1 option in this passing attack. Obviously, Tank Dell not active. So, yeah, it's the Nico Collins show. No one on the Colts can cover him. So I think he's in line for a big week in a game with obviously high stakes, and Houston has plenty to play for with both of these teams trying to win this football game. So love Nico Collins this week. Probably one of the few props that I'll be on with like my full level of confidence or conviction.
I love that, and I'll ride with you on that one. But I'm also looking at Devin Singletary here for a touchdown. It's at plus 105. Yes, I don't think that the Colts are going to be able to guard Nico Collins, but the pass defense has been getting better. So even with Stroud back, I do think they're going to want to utilize their run game. And when you look at the Colts here, they've surrendered more than 110 rushing yards in 8 of their last 10 games. And Singletary is coming off of a pretty big game himself, 16 carries, 80 yards against a Titans defense that is pretty good, or has been pretty good against the run, at least. He only has 3 touchdowns this year. He has not found the end zone in 3 straight games, but he does have some interesting incentives. He's already got $125K for going over 1,000 rushing yards. He's also going to get $125K for having 50% of snaps this season, but he could get another $125K if he gets up to 55. He's at 52 right now. So just 3% more, and he could get $125K. I do feel like CJ is going to kind of pass him the ball a little bit there. And why not on the goal line? For someone who only has 3 touchdowns all season and who has not been in the end zone for 3 weeks, the fact that these odds are just plus 105, I feel like the books know this guy's getting in.
I would also add, Katie, too. He has relegated Dameon Pierce to a pure backup role. He has a massive stranglehold on essentially every single touch from that Houston backfield that's been running the ball quite effectively as well. Colts rush defense, nothing to fear either. So I like that play quite a bit at those current odds, Katie.
Pretty big line move here, RJ, from was Colts minus 1.5, I think, open, and now it's Texans minus 1.5. Do you think that's mostly CJ Stroud related? I see Texans minus 1.5 on FanDuel. I mean, I have a hard time. This is, I mean, easily the toughest game on the slate to pick, just because both divisional matchup, second divisional matchup, 2 teams who are fighting for their playoff lives. Yeah, I think you have really like 2 guys who, if it weren't for Kevin Stefanski, would be getting some serious Coach of the Year love, and Shane Steichen and DeMeco Ryans. Gardner Minshew's played pretty well. Jonathan Taylor running the ball well. He shredded the Texans in his career, but DeMeco Ryans, I think this is sort of the factor for me, RJ. DeMeco's ability to completely bottle up Derrick Henry leads me to believe he's going to be able to do some of the same stuff with the Shane Steichen offense as well. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with the line move. We got it at Houston plus 100 on the money line, even odds, expecting that they should be favored in this game because they are the much better team than me. And I know that the ratings probably don't have it that way. Obviously, the market is kind of agreeing here because the Texans are favored in Indianapolis in a playoff game for both teams. Look at what they did last week. Both had plus 1.6 yards per play differentials and home matchups against bad teams. But that Indy defense was not that impressive to me. Allowed 5 yards per play to a Vegas offense that has mostly struggled, made Aiden O'Connell look like a legit NFL quarterback, one of the few games where he has looked like that. And CJ Stroud can come in and I think tear up this defense here and score a lot of points. And the question is, can Indy match them? And this Houston defense is playing well. You mentioned they shut down Henry, allowed 3.5 yards per play, just 1 of 12 third down rate to Tennessee. Now Tennessee is dealing with a lot of offensive line issues that the Colts necessarily don't have. But I think right now the Houston defense is playing as well as the Indy defense at least. And I know that the Houston offense is well ahead of the Indy offense for me with CJ Stroud versus Gardner Minshew. So that's why I agreed with the line move here. That's why I backed Houston when they were small underdogs to win the game outright. I do not like Indy's inconsistency week to week. Last week was the week they were supposed to be the good Indy, and they almost, that game was close. I know that they didn't cover, and it was really a garbage time touchdown that made it look close, but wasn't that impressive to me when you've taken what the defense did. So I think Houston's going to come in here, win this game. I'm not considering the Coach of the Year race over. I'm not tearing up my tickets. I still hold out hope for the winner of this game to get in, because I think what they have done is just as impressive considering where those teams were before the season as what Kevin Stefanski's done. I mean, Houston was tied for the longest Super Bowl odds with Arizona. Like nobody expected them to be a Super Bowl contender. If they get to the playoffs, I think you have to consider that guy for Coach of the Year.
Do you, if they win the division, they need help from the Titans, obviously. Titans need to beat the Titans. I think it's obvious, right? If the Titans beat the Jaguars, the winner of this game wins the division. Correct. Now, I think it's like 60%. So it's like the winner of this, it's like 60-40 there. I mean, the Jaguars are pretty decent favorites, so we'll talk about the game in a minute. But I'm with you. I wouldn't tear up the ticket. I think if like D'Amico Ryan just coaches circles around Steichen and the Texans blow out the Colts, you could see and win the division. You could see them get it. It's just gonna be hard to upend Stefanski, I think.
Yeah, he's the favorite for a reason. But do you give him the credit? Do you give Joe Flacco the credit? It seems like a lot of the buzz has been giving Joe Flacco the credit the last few weeks, getting him in the comeback player race. And if you're going to give Flacco so much credit for saving that team, that takes away some of the credit from Stefanski. I know, he's the guy coaching him and he brought him in. But at some point, you have to kind of let everybody else in these awards races, I think.
Yeah, agree. All right. Looking at the Falcons at the Saints laying a field goal, this total 42.5. This is a game that I really just don't want to touch because I don't know how you can trust either of these teams. You don't know what you're going to get. Both of them have a slim chance to make the playoffs. None of us have a best bet on this game, but Propstarz, is there any players that we should maybe be looking at for the prop market come closer to this game?
It's been frustrating, obviously, as a Kyle Pitts supporter, but I still think there's a little bit of value with Kyle Pitts considering his current role in the offense in the beginning portions of the season, almost 3/4 of the season, just used as a part-time player in this Arthur Smith offense, which is absolutely inexplicable, but we've seen over the past 4 to 5 weeks, finally a changing of the guard, Pitts being utilized in a full-time role, having near 100% route participation, considering his yards is right around 35. To me, just being on the field that much with his level of talent, his his average depth of target makes him a must play for me, even at those yards, and as frustrating as it has been for Pitts. So he's someone I'll probably continue to back, as frustrating as it's been.
So just for clarity's sake here, the Falcons can only make the playoffs by winning the division, I believe, and they obviously have to win, and then they need the Buccaneers to lose at Carolina, which get to that game. Well, the Bucs are only 4.5-point favorites. It's a little stinky. That line's a little, and Baker's kind of banged up. I'm just saying, you get Kyle Trask against that Carolina defense, I wouldn't rule anything out. Saints can make the playoffs by Bucs lose, Saints win division, but can also make the playoffs if Saints win, and Cardinals beat the Seahawks and the Bears beat the Packers. They would get in as a wild card as the 7 seed as well. So look, Bears +3 and Cardinals at home +2.5. Like, that's not that crazy a scenario where that could play out. I think, Arthur Smith, I heard Mike Garofalo point out that he is on the shakiest of ground in Atlanta. Yeah. I have a hard time believing that this team is going to show up in a meaningful way. Maybe on defense, I tend to look towards the under in this spot. If I was going to go anything, it would be the Saints, though. I don't like the Saints. I don't think they're a well-coached team. I don't trust their quarterback, but I trust their quarterback more than I trust the Falcons quarterback and the Falcons coaching staff, RJ.
Yeah, I actually think Derek Carr's been playing well the last few weeks. He looks a lot healthier, and he's going to need to play well because it looks like that offense could be without Kamara in this game. He's dealing with an injury. But I think he can go out and win this game. We know the Falcons struggle on the road. Even if this is an indoor environment, I still don't trust them on the road against really anybody, no matter who's playing at quarterback, because these quarterbacks are going up and down the depth chart right now. Taylor Heineke dealing with an injury. They had less than 100 net passing yards against Chicago when you take out that long Tyler Algier dump and run play, which it's not a reflection of how great the quarterback played on that play. It's just great blocking and great play call there. The offense for Atlanta ran for a season high 228 yards in the first game against New Orleans. That's got to be the emphasis for New Orleans in this game, is slowing down that rushing attack and trying to make whoever's at quarterback beat you. And I think that they won't be able to do that. That quarterback beat them with how solid the pass defense is playing right now, even though they gave up 7 yards per play against Tampa. But that was a lot of second half garbage time type of production. They really played well in the first half of that game. So this number feels about right for power ratings. But I'm with you. If I'm playing it, I'm going to lean on New Orleans here. And expect that they're the better team, and at home they should be able to win and cover here, and then see what happens see what happens with the other teams, see if they make the playoffs. I mean, it's fascinating. These were the two teams that had the easiest schedule going into the season, and everybody liked their overs and thought that they were going to be strong teams. And now they're battling to just have a chance at the playoffs in week 18, not even to be into a playoff spot. So a lesson to keep in mind for next August and early September: what you think doesn't always come to pass.
True. You're on mute, Prince. You're muted.
Oops, sorry. I go back to this a lot, but like remember the Panthers had the 9th overall pick and they thought trading for Bryce. I mean, they really should have been in the mid. Like, this division was open. There's no excuse to have the worst record in football when you're in this division.
We'll get to them.
We'll get to them. Browns of the Bengals. Bengals -7 total here of 37.5, tilted towards the under a little bit. Browns catching a hair of juice as well. I think we could probably see this come in. I don't know if it'll drop to 6.5. I mean, Bengals have kind of been playing with their backups for a while now. They are officially eliminated from the playoffs at 8-8. The Browns have clinched their playoff spot, and I believe RJ have nothing to play for here. They're locked into the 5 seed. Yeah, because the Ravens have the 1 seed. Yeah, they're locked into the 5 seed. So hence the line move. Probably not going to see many Browns starters. And it's like a little weird. It's sort of like Lamar with the MVP, where he's like, I'd be curious, like, if they said, is Myles Garrett going to play? Because he's the favorite right now to win Defensive Player of the Year. But it would make more sense to sit him because you want to win the Super Bowl. And you think you got a chance with January Joe coming in town and February Flacco. Anyway, I would lean towards getting the 7 here with Cleveland, I think, RJ.
Yeah, I'm kind of that way too. When it was early in the week and it was Cincy -5 around that spot, and I expected PJ Walker to be the starter, I was interested in Cincinnati because I don't think PJ Walker is good enough to even, execute against this bad Bengals defense, which is a very bad defense, by the way. Gave up awful against Kansas City, despite largely keeping him out of the end zone. Butker with all those field goals, but 7.0 yards per play. Blow up game for Isaiah Pacheco. Blow up game for Rashee Rice. Just was not good. But I don't think PJ Walker could execute against that because he just hasn't been great no matter who he's faced. Now that it's Jeff Driscoll, I'm a little interested in Cleveland, oddly enough, because we've seen him have some mobility. We know that he can run with the ball. And that's a key against this Bengals defense that now is missing DJ Reader, just cannot stop the run right now. And if you're just having this run the ball game plan, picking up first downs, keeping this low scoring game close, I don't see why you couldn't cover 7 against a Bengals team that just got eliminated. They're kind of, this could be a letdown spot for them, ready for the offseason because they didn't get to where they wanted to go, even though it looked like Jake Browning was going to give them a chance for several weeks. They just couldn't get there. So I want to wait and see until if the market gives us Cleveland +7.5 before I play it. But even at +7, I think with Jeff Driscoll at quarterback, weirdly enough, it's a spot where you want to back Cleveland.
All right, next up, the Jags are laying 3.5 at the Titans. This over 39.5. RJ, when I locked this in earlier, it was at 5.5. What did I miss? How did this drop 2 points?
I haven't seen any news on it, but you have to assume this is a negative on Trevor Lawrence's health. I think the expectation would be he come in and play. And we've seen he's been a warrior for most of his career and playing through injuries. Even earlier this season, was not able to do it last week. But I think the expectation was he'd be able to come back this week. So when this line drops 2 points, it's probably a reflection of practice status, which I haven't seen, or somebody starting to know some things about he might miss the game. So I know CJ Beathard played well. That was against the Panthers, a very beat up defense, did not have to do anything in that game because the Panthers offense cannot score against anyone except Green Bay and Joe Barry's scheme somehow. So we'll see. Jacksonville needs to win here. I'm not sure they will if CJ Beathard is at quarterback. Titans, Vrabel can show up and play hard. So my lean was on Tennessee when it was a higher number. Now I think it's right about where it should be. So we'll see what happens with the quarterbacks. If Lawrence is ruled in and it balloons back up around that 6 area, I think I might still like the Titans.
I wouldn't rule out. Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, that's okay. Well, I was going to say, you go.
I wouldn't rule out the idea that Mike Vrabel wants revenge for last year in Week 18 is all I was thinking. Like, I don't know if he can get it, but it's like the Jags ruined his season by winning in Jacksonville in Week 18. I think he would like to get revenge if it is possible. Can't really run against Jacksonville, so maybe not a great spot for Derrick Henry. But, Katie, you actually have a best bet of the game.
I do. And this is, look, tail this at your own risk. Obviously, wait if you can to see if Trevor Lawrence is playing, because my theory is on him playing, which now this 2-point line move makes it a little bit fishier. But like RJ said, the Jags need to win in order to lock up the division. They hold the tiebreaker over the Colts and the Texans. Tannehill likely to start over Levis. Levis, of course, left the game last week with, I believe, an ankle injury on a cart. If Trevor Lawrence is playing, I love this. He was a limited participant in practice on Wednesday. So we'll see what those rumors are. I just checked online too. Nothing has come out quite yet, but of course this line is a big indication of that. The Titans secondary has just been awful. So I do think that CJ Beathard does stand a chance here if it is him. They rank 25th against the pass. But best bet Jags here, minus the 3.5. So we'll have to see what happens with the quarterbacks.
Jacksonville could get a big boost to their offense back as Christian Kirk practiced yesterday. He's been the Jags' top receiver, even over Calvin Ridley this season. Slot man extraordinaire. Had dealt with a core injury. Thought to knock him out for the remainder of the season, but was not placed on injured reserve, and looks like he could be returning to the lineup this week, which would definitely be a big boost for Jacksonville as their offense, particularly the passing offense, is really cratered without Kirk on the field.
And worth noting that for DFS DraftKings price, Christian Kirk at the shout out Adam Levitan, stone cold men, $3,000. So expect him to be chalky if he plays. Also worth noting, if the Jaguars lose this game, they still have a path. They still have a path to the playoffs. Ravens and Raiders both win, and the Jaguars would also get into the playoffs even if they lose.
Yeah, the interesting thing about that scenario is if the Steelers and Jaguars both lose, you set up a situation where one of them gets into the playoffs with a loss, but it depends on the Broncos Raiders game. So you get all these people huddling over the TV watching one game to see who determines their fate between these two teams that lost. So
yeah, and
kind of rooting for that scenario.
Yeah, I am too, because Steelers and Ravens obviously on Saturday, and then Jaguars Titans at 1:00. So if the Steelers lose, the Jaguars lose. All of a sudden, it's like you're gonna get like a bowl, like a college basketball tournament announcement situation where where those teams are sitting in there watching to find out if they got in. Buccaneers minus 4.5 at the Panthers, total of 37.5. Carolina's been kind of frisky the last couple of weeks, not gonna lie. Ever since I proclaimed them dead, and they won a game against the Panther against the Falcons at home in that rainstorm in front of 5 people, they've actually been a little frisky. But
last week
they weren't frisky last week. Well, so the owner was frisky. Owner friskily threw 26-0 wasn't frisky. The owner friskily threw a drink onto David Tepper, fined, of course, $300,000. I mean, wow. What a massive fine for a man worth $20 billion. I digress. Anyway, Katie, you've got a best bet on this game.
Yes, I think Tepper was the only frisky one on the team last week. Look, Bucks win the NFC South if they win this game. And Baker could actually, I think he's still a contender for comeback player of the year if he has a solid performance. I know everybody loves Flacco right now. And of course, there was someone who died last year. But if it goes to someone who actually played well, I do think that Baker has a shot to win this award. So I do think he will be motivated as well to have a good performance. Carolina, they're the worst team in the NFL. They basically quit last week. They were not frisky at all, 26-0. And they've lost 11 of 12 games in the NFC this year. Bucks 10-6 against the spread. I just don't know that this Panthers team has any fight left in them to even play spoiler here. And Tampa Bay has a lot on the line. So I'll go ahead and lay that 4.5. But we do have to take a quick break here. More games when we come back. You're watching Pick Six. We'll see you in a sec.
Sunday on the NFL season finale, playoff fates will be decided. Who's in, who's out. We can't wait for the answers. The NFL is on CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus.
It's time for the Pick Six Parlay, where we each select a game of a 4-leg moneyline parlay. But there are some rules. The person with the best record, which is not me because I wasn't here, gets to go first and second, and so on and so on. The Pick Six Parlay is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. Last week, the fellas were done in by the Eagles again. Man, Propstarz, these Eagles, they keep ruining the parlay for us.
Yeah, you know what it is? You haven't worn that Niners jersey yet. You haven't showed up in the Niners jersey. The Eagles are cursed. Oh my God, the Eagles are cursed ever since the Niners jersey.
It is since the Niners jersey. I will admit it here that I have caused this losing streak. I'm not at all. So I owe the podcast, I owe the viewers, I owe Katie some serious Crow and a 49ers jersey. So you will see me
That's all
appear
right.
in one shortly.
We still love you, and you can make it all right this week by picking one that wins. RJ, you're going first, though.
Yeah, I kind of want to throw in an underdog and let everybody else kind
Do
of
it.
free them up to do whatever they want. But there's one favorite that you just talked about that's sticking out. I just got to go Bucks minus 240. I got to make sure the Bucks are in our parlay here because I think that line should probably be a little bit higher, like you were talking about. And I don't see how the Panthers have any fight left with this coaching staff that isn't going to be back. Any of these guys aren't going to be back. So I would assume they check out of this game and the Buccaneers win it pretty easily. So Bucks minus 240 first pick.
Love it. Brinson.
Hard to blame you for that one, RJ. Wow, I get second. I went 2 and 4, and I'm second on the docket. How lucky. Oh man, I'm kind of tempted to go with the dogs too, but I don't know if I see one that I love. Yeah, I do. I'll go with the Dallas Cowboys. Never mind. I don't feel like being the reason this parlay is screwed up. Give me Dallas. I don't care if they're on the road. Washington. Talk about a team that's checked out.
If we don't hit one of these parlays by the conclusion of the regular season here, I will be thoroughly disappointed in all of us here. But hopefully this is the week. We've come so close, so many weeks here. I guess it's up to me to take the dog here. Hopefully I'm on the same page with RJ.
Well, you don't have to.
No?
I still have to go too. You
okay.
Take the dog,
if you got a dog you like, I mean, like, go ahead. Unless
I do like Baltimore as a dog here, so
I love that. I love that.
Okay, yeah. I'm gonna go with Baltimore.
That would have been my pick. Yeah,
I love it. So,
I thought about taking Baltimore too. So
okay, so let's make Baltimore
roll.
All right.
All right. So now, just for clarity, Katie, we've got obviously the Cowboys, Bucks, Baltimore Ravens, currently at 3-1. So you could go back to the dog well if you want, and we double dog and really crank up this parlay.
Well,
you don't have to.
Just don't take the Eagles, please.
I'm not. Don't worry. You can count on me for that.
I can count on you for that.
Well, I think you guys aren't going to like the dog that I like. So
No. Well, who's the dog you like?
I like the Bears.
I just clicked the Bears to see what the number was because I like the Bears too.
Plus
we love the Bears.
Because Green Bay got knocked out last year.
Dude,
remember?
That's 9-1.
Spoiler. Let's do Bears.
Let's do Bears. I think that line is outrageously stinky to me.
Yeah.
Like if it's like, why would the Bears care? We'll get the game
dog. Stinky dog right there.
Stinky dog. That's right. All right. I love that. All right. This is a get your money back. We finished in the positive parlay for week 18. We got the Dallas Cowboys minus 950. And shout out to, this is, I think FanDuel. Oh, no, maybe not. Buccaneers minus 240. The Ravens plus 160 in the double dog. The Bears plus 140 as a 4-leg parlay that pays out plus 877. Spicy. Let's make that happen this week. Reminder, this Pick Six Parlay segment is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. The Patriots are hosting the Jets. I think you were supposed to set it up, but I got a best bet here, and I'll move it along quickly. I love the Patriots. Look, this is in theory. Belichick and Kraft are meeting on Monday to discuss Belichick's future, according to reports out there. The total here is 30 and a half. 30 and a half. This thing could go down to like 25.
Yeah.
There's going to be no points. And there's definitely going to be no points for the Jets. This could be Bill Belichick's swan song in Foxborough, his Foxborough finale. And he's going against a team that he has destroyed throughout his career, a team he hates, disgusted by the Jets. He quit on them with a cocktail napkin. You think he's going to let his last game as Patriots head coach be a loss to the Jets? Hell effing no. Patriots by 14, but not by a lot, but by 14. I want to say by a billion, but I mean, Patriots by like 5.
Patriots, hope to score.
Patriots win. Find a way to win. Yeah, wouldn't be opposed to the money line either.
Okay.
My worry is that bad weather game probably, and low scoring game, obviously tight spread, close game. That New England kicker, I would take 31 kickers in the league over him.
Jeez,
He has not made all of his kicks in a game since week 9. He's good for missing a kick at some point in this game. And if it's one where the game is close, it could be a loss, or it could be, Patriots win by 1 instead of 4. And so I could not play this game at all. It's going to be a complete stay away.
Yeah, I mean, like it's definitely going to be some variance. By the way, did you see? I can't remember who put it out, but I put it in my article that I mentioned earlier. If you flip all the 1-score games, in other words, like the Browns were 6-2 in 1-score games, and then you take the result of all their wins and make them losses, and all their losses and make them wins. So you're not just giving them all of them. Patriots are a playoff team. I think that is really interesting. Because I think if you do think about the Patriots season as a whole, obviously Belichick screwed up and built a bad team with a bad offense and trusted in some dumb things to work out. Bad quarterback, bad play caller, all this stuff. Mm-hmm. But they've had really bad luck. Now, no one is going to say, oh, woe is the Patriots for all their years of bad luck. But I'm just saying it's a team that things could have gone differently. The Vikings at the Lions. Lions minus 3.5, over under 45.5. Everybody except me has a best bet. So we'll start with you, Propstarz. You're going to the Jetta well.
Yeah, give me Justin Jefferson, Brinson, over 83.5 receiving yards. Jefferson is 118 yards shy of 1,000 yards, which is pretty wild to think about considering he had a stint on injured reserve, I believe, 6 weeks. So, yeah, I know Justin Jefferson would like to keep his streak of 1,000-yard seasons going. Nick Mullins likely to be under center. I believe is going to be under center for Minnesota. He slings the ball between the 20s, not afraid to put it up there for Justin Jefferson, and facing a Detroit pass defense, which has been absolutely brutal. Justin has just destroyed them historically throughout his career. Also, Detroit double teams at the lowest rate in the NFL, which certainly benefits someone like Justin Jefferson, who's used to facing double coverage. So love this spot for Jefferson. I know it means a lot to him to have 1,000 yards. I know Nick Mullins is probably the best option for him under center as well to make that dream come true. Wouldn't surprise me to see him clips this in the first half.
I am taking the Lions to cover in the first half. It's minus 1.5 right now at FanDuel. Minnesota's alive, still needs help. Detroit could rest players if they want. Whether they're the 2 seed or 3 seed, they're probably a long shot for the 2 seed, knowing what Dallas is facing in their matchup. Seems like they're going to play starters, though, and that's what Dan Campbell has indicated. But the market isn't quite buying it. Otherwise, this line would be a lot higher. I mean, I might make Detroit double-digit favorites against Nick Mullins at home in this spot if we knew they were going full out for 60 minutes. So if Nick Mullins is that quarterback, I know he could, like you said, you could do enough against a struggling Detroit pass defense to keep it close. So I would worry about the second half play there. So my guess is starters play the first half. Campbell evaluates what's going on in the other games at halftime and potentially plays Teddy Bridgewater in the second half in what could be his last game ever, getting to play that against the Vikings. How about the poetry there? I know Brinson loves his narratives. That's quite the narrative on that one. So I think Detroit first half is a great play, even if you kind of leaning to the Vikings here. So Detroit minus 1.5 is my play.
I hadn't even thought about the Teddy B revenge game. I love that angle.
I love that too. I like the over in this one, 45.5. Like you laid out, Minnesota has a slim chance to make the playoffs. Lions can possibly move up to the number 2 seed by the end of the week. But of course, Dallas would have to lose that game. Mullins is back. The Jaron Hall experience obviously did not work out too well. This is good for Justin Jefferson. I know so many people that lost their fantasy finals because Justin Jefferson wasn't able to get anything done with Hall. So welcome back to Nick Mullins. And like you kind of alluded already, RJ, Detroit's defense has been really shoddy recently, especially against their NFC North rivals. They're 4-1 to the over in divisional games this season. Minnesota's defense, for as good as they looked for a while, have been really bad over the last 3 weeks, hitting an over in 3 weeks straight. And the Lions are good at home, averaging almost 31 points per game. I know that we do have to kind of see how this goes in the first half, but I still think that we can get over this 45.5. So I'm taking the over there. Now for my dog that I
Alex. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Alex had something to
Did want to point out just really quickly, Jahmyr Gibbs, I believe it's 78 or 80 yards shy of eclipsing 1,000 yards, would make history with David Montgomery as one of the first backfields to both have both rushers eclipse 1,000 yards rushing.
I also think that you like to get your first round rookie over 1,000 rushing yards. It makes just sort of, it looks nice when you spend a first round pick on a rookie, and he does that. So that's a good point.
I agree. All right. Now for my underdog play in the pick six parlay, the Bears at the Packers. Packers laying 3. This total 44.5. I had Emery Hunt on my Moxie Bets podcast this morning, and he was telling me, and apparently BMAC had this conversation as well. Look, you all remember I was really high on the Bears. I thought the Bears were going to win the NFC North. Obviously, I still think I'm just early. I don't think I'm wrong. I think I'm just early. I think next year, this Bears team, considering what we've seen from Justin Fields, now if they don't get a new quarterback, could be something big. And we saw who spoiled the Packers last year, and all of a sudden are a good team in competing this year, the Lions. So we could see maybe a little repeat of that. The Chicago Bears play an upset here. Not a best bet, but just going back into why I like the Bears in this spot. Anybody have any thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I love the Bears. Sorry, go ahead, RJ.
So my worry, my devil's advocate, is that the Packers seem to be getting healthy finally. I think Christian Watson was back at practice. I know Jaden Reed got hurt, but some other guys back at practice too. So we'll see how the injury report looks for them. And if they come out with a stronger lineup than they have these last few weeks, maybe they can make a little noise offensively, even against the Chicago defense that's been playing really well. They gave up 4.0 yards per play against Atlanta, aside from that long Algier touchdown we covered earlier. And Jordan Love playing very well despite all the injuries at receiver, at tight end, 20 points in 7 straight games, only 1 interception in that stretch, really proving that he is a franchise quarterback, and he's going to be the franchise quarterback there at least for the next few years, and potentially for another 12, like the guys before him.
It's ridiculous how the Packers have done this. I mean, it's 3 in a row. It's unreal.
And I would also add that the running game for the Green Bay has certainly benefited Jordan Love, who's obviously playing well. But Aaron Jones, who looked really poor and was having trouble staying on the field throughout the first 3 quarters of the season, has been very effective over the final 3 or 4 games here. So could be another nice start for Jones, who's really led the way for Green Bay's rushing attack.
Yeah, Bears defense has been much better, especially the run defense. But I think Aaron Jones can probably get them in that passing game where he's been dominant. And if the Packers get a lead, wouldn't be surprised to see him grind it down. He should have a lot more touchdowns the last couple of weeks, too. And got really hosed by them giving the ball to A.J. Dillon at the goal line. Cowboys at the Commanders. Cowboys minus 13.5. Commanders catching a little bit of juice. The total here of 46.5. I thought about this one for a little while. And here's my take. I trust the Cowboys, even on the road, even against a division opponent in this spot. Now, as what typically happens at least once a week, I'm going to give out a best bet of Cowboys minus 13.5. RJ is going to have a similarly themed best bet that I actually like better and wish that I'd thought of. We'll get to that in a second. But if you look at the Cowboys' road woes, they lost to Arizona, embarrassing. But their other road games is like Buffalo, Philly, and Miami, and San Francisco. I mean, those are all 4 really, really good teams. San Francisco blew them out, but they were right there with Miami. I think was the Buffalo game might have been not that. The Buffalo game was no Buffalo destroyed the Cowboys, but then they really should have beaten Philly too. And so I think that you take those 4 games and group them separately from the Arizona game, and then you put in Carolina and the Giants on the road, and they smoked those teams. And I think this is a spot where Ron Rivera and the Commanders have checked out. It's vacation season. They have no defense, and they're probably starting Sam Howell again, who's been holding onto the ball behind a bad offensive line and is going to get sacked a ton by Michael Parsons, who he's probably out of the race for Defensive Player of the Year, but maybe could flip it a little bit if he had like a 5-sack game or something like that. I think the Cowboys absolutely destroy the Commanders here. They've been given a gift from the football gods to win the division and host a playoff game, and I don't think they're going to take it lightly.
Yeah, my issue with playing the Cowboys on the line is that if it was Brissett playing, I would kind of like the Commanders because I believe he could score points. And even though that Howell has been announced at the starter, I don't necessarily know that Brissett has been ruled out yet. So if he is medically cleared at the end of the week and he's able to back up in this game, could see another situation where Howell is terrible in the first half and they go to Brissett and Brissett rattles off touchdown drives and covers through the back door. So I am confident that Dallas is going to score a ton of points here. They rattled Washington 45-10 in the first meeting. They have all the personnel to take advantage of this awful defense. And the Washington team has given up 30 points in 9 of their 16 games so far. I don't see why Dallas can't get to 30 points with one of the best offenses in the league. So my best bet is Dallas's team total going over 29.5 in this game.
What's up, Prop?
I just want to mention real quick, CeeDee Lamb coming off of that historic career best day. We talked about how for the first time in his career, he had triple-digit prop line, obviously made good on that. Another just fantastic matchup against this Washington pass defense. Gives up the most explosive pass plays over 15-plus yards at the highest rate in the league. CeeDee Lamb could go absolutely nuclear once again. His receiving line is 93.5. Not afraid to play it with how good he's looked.
Oh yeah, wow, 93.5. I think that's kind of factoring in that Dallas. They're like, oh, Dallas might take their foot off the gas. I don't see how you can if you saw the Commanders come back, put in Brissett, come back against the Jets. This is for the division. No, they were dead in the water, and they've been given a gift. I don't think they take their foot off the gas at all. All right, let's take a break. But first, Sunday, the NFL is on CBS, and in the regular season finale, teams are making one last push to keep their postseason hopes alive, including a major late afternoon matchup between the Bears and the Packers at Lambeau. We'll get you set for all the playoff scenarios beginning at noon Eastern with the NFL Today. We can't wait. The NFL is on CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus. Seahawks Cardinals next.
The Scudetto, where the soul of Italy meets the pinnacle of calcio. Catch Serie A on CBS Sports Network and streaming live on Paramount Plus.
Welcome back to Pick Six Podcast. We're moving along for Week 18 best bets for the NFL. Looking at an NFC West showdown between the Seahawks and the Cardinals. Seahawks laying 2.5. This total 47.5. Seems like everybody's on Seattle in this one, but if anyone can play upset, it's Mr. Kyler Murray. I mean, we've seen him do it a couple weeks now in a row. But RJ, you're liking the Seahawks.
Yeah, the market is on the Cardinals because it was 3 and it's come down to 2.5 in some spots. And at 2.5, I love the Seahawks here. They need to win, obviously, help to get in the playoffs. I don't like playing those teams that just need to win because it seems like they get to be overrated in the market. But I think Arizona could be a little bit checked out of this game. I know that they just played spoiler. That was for their coach against his former team, Jonathan Gannon. That was a massive win for them, massive kind of proof that we're not as bad as our record. And they can kind of take this week off. I'm not sure they're going to have the same intensity against the Seattle team where there's less to play for. Their rush offense was great against Philly, and Seattle's rush defense was terrible against Pittsburgh. Each had 200 yards in those matchups. Arizona getting it, Seattle giving it up. So that is a spot where Arizona's offense can have success. Seattle's offense was also great against Pittsburgh, 7.5 yards per play, but it was a mix of awesome and awful. And I think against this Arizona defense, they're going to get their points. I'm not sure that'll be the case for Arizona coming off a win in a letdown spot here. So at 2.5, love Seattle as a best bet. I think the line should be at least 3.
Yep, I'm on Seattle as well. It's a spot. Pete Carroll, talks about compete. That's right. We don't take dogs. We take the cat. No, I think I agree with RJ's handicap of that almost completely, especially the part about Arizona coming off was basically their Super Bowl. You go and beat your coach's old team. You make their defense look pathetic. You remind them that Jonathan Gannon was a big reason why they had success and went to the Super Bowl last year. You ruin the Eagles season. And like Jonathan Gannon and the Eagles fans did not get along. He ruins the Eagles season. And now you come back and you're sort of like, and there's no real motivation to come out and like destroy the Seahawks season, especially when it's not win and you're in for the Seahawks. It's win and cross your fingers. I like the Seahawks in that spot. The other NFC West game, Rams at the 49ers, battle of the backups. We got the 49ers down to 4 now. I think it was 4.5, but 4 with a little juice, a total of 41.5. And look, I'll let you explain further, Katie, but I like the under in this one. And I like it because we have seen Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan. They're not going to toss Carson Wentz. The only throwing of the ball might be to get Puka Nacua the rookie records that he needs to get. Other than that, it's going to be run the ball and make sure everybody is healthy because we are locked into our playoff spots. I think everybody's locked in. They're both locked into their playoff spots because they're not playing anybody. Sam Darnold and Carson Wentz ain't out there to wing it around, Katie.
Couldn't agree with you more. I'm like the first time I think on this show, I'm not taking the Niners team total over anything. I'm taking the under in this game as well, under the 41.5. It's going to look like a preseason game. And like you said, they're just going to be pounding the rock, running the ball. I will say, there isn't anything available yet, but look at Jordan Mason props for the 49ers, because I do think that Shanahan's going to elect to rest Elijah Mitchell a little bit more, because he is that number one backup to Christian McCaffrey. We're going to want him to be healthy in the playoffs. So take this under. Agree with you on everything. Stafford isn't playing, Purdy isn't playing, CMC isn't playing, nobody's playing in this game. But these also are teams that hate each other. So these backups, these defenses are still going to try to play some bully ball here. But
I agree with that in a little. I think the defense will come to play and try to stifle the offense. But also, these two teams definitely think there's a chance they see each other in the playoffs. There's going to be nothing. Nobody's going to put anything out there that could mess it up. I don't think, RJ.
Agree.
No, I wish I would have got this at 3. I expected the Rams would bench people and rest people, even though some people said they wouldn't, because they could improve their spot. They are a little bit of variability there. They could be the 6 or 7 seed. So the thought was avoid the 7 seed, get the 6 seed. I'm not sure it matters too much. If you're the 7 seed, you get to play, one of these NFC East teams that might not be as good as their Lions right now with the way the Lions have been playing. So we'll see. I think the rest was more important there, so I understand why they did it. Wish I would have laid it at 3 with the 49ers, but not going to play it now at 4.
Going to be the Ronnie Rivers, Royce Freeman show at running back for the Rams. Potentially some value here if we can kind of get an idea or a beat on which running back will be utilized more. We know with Sean McVay, he loves to give the lion's share of the touches to one back. He does not typically deploy committees. He always likes to lean on a feature back. So that'll be something I'll be paying close attention to over the next 24 to 48 hours.
All right. Wait, sorry, I kind of blacked out.
Oh, I'm doing the next one. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. I was like, wait.
1.5 at the Giants. This total 41.5. RJ, you're back on the dog here.
Yeah, this Philly defense has allowed 30-plus yards on every single drive they've had in the last 6 quarters, except for Tyrod Taylor's first drive, which was a 14-yard drive because they started on the 14-yard line, and he got 3 plays and went in for a touchdown. And then there was one other drive where the Cardinals had the ball with 16 seconds left in the first half and did not get the 30 yards. So aside from those, it's been 30-plus yards every single drive. The defense has been terrible. Matt Patricia, great job by you. As soon as you got involved calling plays, his defense is completely in the tank. So we'll see if they change anything going into the playoffs, because what they are doing right now is not working. What the Giants are doing offensively is working. Tyrod Taylor is the type of quarterback that can maximize what Brian Daboll wants to do offensively, get the ball downfield. We've seen him hit some big plays, Darius Slayton involved in some of those, and was not able to move the ball consistently last week, but is able to light up this Eagles defense that isn't playing well. And last week they played a Rams team that is much better than Philly right now, yet this line is around the same as that Rams line was. I think it should be a lot lower than this, even though my ratings say Philly should be 5. I don't think they've caught up to how bad the defense is playing. So love the Giants plus 5.5 as the best bet. Would not be surprised if they went out and won this game.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I like the Giants in this spot. Eagles are reeling and really could have lost the 2 games out of their bye against the Chiefs and the Bills, and we'd be talking about an all-time spiral in terms of Philadelphia. I think the Giants are absolutely live here. They would have been made the list close on the best bet. Next up, Broncos at the Raiders. Raiders minus 2.5 is a best bet for me. Total here, by the way, 38.5. Look, talk about motivation for all these playoff teams, possible playoff teams. There's no motivation for the Broncos. They've been eliminated. Their franchise quarterback, Russell Wilson, has been benched. They have turned to Jared Stidham. The Raiders, this entire locker room wants Antonio Pierce to be the coach. The only holdup, I think, is that Jim Harbaugh hired Don Yee to be his agent. Don Yee represents Tom Brady, or represented Tom Brady when he was a player. So there's a Raiders connection there. Also, Don Yee, Jimmy Garoppolo's agent, I believe, too. And so he's negotiated. He's spent time around the Raiders. He has a lot of connections there, and I think that might be the holdup. Is Jim Harbaugh interested in this Raiders job? So. In other words, these Raiders players are going to come to play on Sunday to try and get the victory for Antonio Pierce. Give me Raiders minus 2.5.
I would disagree a little bit that there's no motivation on the Broncos side. I think there's motivation for Sean Payton to have proof of concept that his offense can operate better without Russell Wilson. So I think he's not checked out on this season. He wants to show that not necessarily that Jarrett Stidham's his guy moving forward, but that Russell Wilson was holding me back. And there should be optimism about me with a better quarterback moving forward.
I also think Sean Payton wants to get a good look at Jaleel McLaughlin, running back for Denver. It's obviously been the Javonte Williams show for the majority of the season, came back from that ACL tear, tore multiple ligaments. Incredible story if you look at the fact that he was able to come back and be as effective as he was, although he's failed to eclipse 4 yards per carry, I believe, 8 of the last 9 weeks. I do think Jaleel McLaughlin will receive the bulk of the touches for the Broncos backfield in this game. So someone's props to keep an eye on here as we approach this game.
All right, Bills. I got to bounce here in just a second, but Bills -3 at the Dolphins, over under 49.5. Dolphins catching a little bit of juice, the under catching a little bit of juice. Could have gotten the Bills at like -120 on the money line earlier this, like right on Sunday. I still like the Bills -3. It's a big number on the road, but there's a 100% chance that the Bills, the Dolphins will be motivated here. But man, the Bills have been great in these spots in Week 18. They have knocked the Dolphins out of the playoffs before. They have just blown out the Patriots in these. They come to play in Week 18. I think this is one where Buffalo is either going to be playing for the division or playing for a playoff spot. I think they find a way to win by 3+ points and manhandle. I think it might blow out the Dolphins, honestly. So Bills -3, my last best bet. I've got to go. You guys are going to take care of the Chiefs and the Chargers.
Yes. All right. Have a good day, Brinson. Thank you for your time. I will recap your picks. And yes, Kansas City Chiefs.
Hi, guys.
Bye. At the Chargers laying 3.5. This total 35.5. RJ, you're not taking the bait here with the Chargers. You still like KC?
Yeah, Kansas City's resting starters here. Patrick Mahomes is not going to play. It's going to be Blaine Gabbert at quarterback. There's going to be other key offensive players that rest for the Chiefs, I'm sure. So their offense is going to look like a preseason offense. You know who else's offense looks like a preseason offense? Is the Los Angeles Chargers with Easton Stick at quarterback. Even if Josh Palmer returns from a concussion and plays in this game, it's one good receiver. No faith in the other receivers they've had, and no faith in their defense. And the Chiefs, very good defense, one of the best defenses in the league, very deep defense. I think they can carry this game here. Their defense held Cincy to 3.7 yards per play, and they have enough depth to field a strong unit regardless who's playing there. Chargers defense has been playing better since Brandon Staley got fired. None of these guys on this coaching staff are going to be back next year. I don't think that they're going to be focused really on this game, a game that the Chiefs do not care about. So there's nothing really to hang your hat on if you win this game. I think Gabbert's going to come out and win this game for Kansas City, even with the backup. So getting the hook at +3.5 now that it's gone through the key number. Love being able to get that with Kansas City here.
I love it. All right. That is going to do it for the show. Let's go ahead and recap the picks for our best bets. I'll read Brinson's. He's taking New England -1.5. He's laying the 13.5 with Dallas. He's a lot of favorites here. He's taking Seattle -2.5 as well. The under in the Rams and Niners game. He's also going to lay the points with Vegas and also with Buffalo. Wow, no underdogs for Brinson this week. Very interesting. I'm looking at a Devin Singletary touchdown. You can find that at +105. I like the Jags -3.5, Tampa Bay -4.5, and I like the over in Minnesota and Detroit. That's at 45.5, and the under in Rams and Niners.
I have Baltimore +4. I believe their backups are good enough to hang around with the Steelers and potentially win that game. I have Detroit -1.5 in the first half. I do believe Dan Campbell that he's going to play his starters. I think that might change at halftime when he sees what's going on in the Dallas-Washington game. I have Dallas going over 29.5 points on their team total. Washington gives up 30 points to 9 of their 16 opponents, and Dallas should make it 10. I have Seattle -2.5. That line should be at least 3. I have the Giants +5.5 against a very bad Eagles defense that needs to get its act together heading into the playoffs. And I have the Chiefs +3.5 because it's one preseason offense against another. The Chiefs should not be catching points in this spot.
And I've got 2 props. Nico Collins over 73.5 receiving yards. Texans with plenty to play for here. CJ Stroud will be Playing quarterback, Nico Collins has looked very good when both the pair have been active together. And then last but not least, Justin Jefferson over 83.5 receiving yards. He's 118 yards shy of 1,000 yards despite missing close to 7 full games. So certainly an impressive feat. I know he'd like to keep that streak alive, facing a Detroit defense who has a very vulnerable pass defense he's had great historical splits against.
I love it. And that is your week 18 recap for our best bets. We made it the entire season. Of course, we're still going to be doing the postseason as well. Make sure you join us all week long for more NFL coverage, including the Super Friends this Sunday night as they recap the final week of the NFL season. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube page. And if you're listening to the audio version only, do the same. Download, follow, leave a 5-star review, and tell your friends to listen and watch the pod. On behalf of RJ, Propstarz, myself, and Brinson, we'll see you next time.